Yeah, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Got question, Chase has got the facts. Talking NFL numbers, he's got your back. A little chart trend ball, man, he's got it like that. Chasing data by do champions. Chasing data applies to everyone. Chasing data, yeah, we're live today. Chasing data for always. Chasing data by do champions.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to another episode of Chasing Data. Glad that you've stopped by if you have. Tonight, we're going to continue this off-season long journey of starting from the bottom of the NFL and working our way all the way to the top, power ranking all 32 teams. But with each power ranking, it's not topical at all. It is a deep dive. We have made it through 6 or so teams. And tonight we're going to try to tackle 3 at once, number 27, 26, and 25. But before we get started, let's go ahead and hear from our sponsors so we can get right into it.
For the best Italian food in Western New York, Elliot Apollo's, call 716-825-3675. The Lardon Construction Group.
Fubo TV, the official streaming service of Do Champions. FanDuel, the official sportsbook of Do Champions.
For all your summertime needs, beauty pools, as well as kayak pools.
CX Chronicles, your total customer solutions focused manager. W.GG, the official energy drink of Do Champions.
Hey, Sons of Erie, our artwork looks better on your walls. Hamburg Brewing, please visit our tap room on Boston State Road, Hamburg, New York. And finally,
Fat Boy Surf Club for all your surfing needs.
So, like I said, we've been working our way through it. And just for a little recap to show you where we're at, let's see. All right, so power rankings thus far, 32. And I'm adjusting these as we go. So if any other big trades, we had a little bit of movement after free agency came and gone. I mean, free agency is still going on, but I mean, 95% of the players of relevance have already signed. So with that said, 32 was the Titans, 31 the Browns, 30 the Giants, 29 the Raiders, and 28 the Saints. I feel like you could almost mix those 5 up in any order and keep moving along. I mean, I don't think anybody's going to argue you down, maybe besides the Titans being the worst as of right now. So with that said, we'll jump right into adding number 27, who are the New England Patriots. So, New England Patriots, not a great season. They have greatly fallen from the high ranks of the NFL whenever they had Tom Brady, Bill Belichick. Last year, they went 4-13, had 2 6-game losing streaks. So, a bad season if you're a Patriots fan for sure. Had that going on. Gerard Mayo's in. They said they were grooming him up to be the next coach for the future. And he's out after just 1 season. They were ranked 30th overall by PFF on overall grade for a team. Now it's Mike Vrabel. He comes in with a 54-45 record. That's about a 55% win percentage in his career. Spent all that time in Tennessee. He had the great teams great running attacks, but that was a lot of Derrick Henry being involved. So, he had the part or the video that came out where he said the team's passing lose. He spoke on running the ball basically. And I look back at his teams in Tennessee to see where he ranked with yards per game on the ground. He ranked 9th, 10th, 2nd, 1st, 11th, and 20th in his last year. So he's in the top half of the league for sure. Nice. Appreciate you stopping by. Appreciate the love too. Appreciate that as well. Thanks for the subscribe. Yeah. Also, anyone you can subscribe to Do Champions. They're the ones putting this on basically. And you can follow me, King NFL Stats, on pretty much any social media platform. So continuing on, Last year with the offensive coordinator, they had Alex Van Pelt. Now it is Josh McDaniels for the third time. He's in there. Offense last year was ranked 30th, passing offense 24th, run game 18th. The problem with this offense was the pass block. We know the offensive line was god-awful in New England. They were only ahead of a team that was below them, the New Orleans Saints. They allowed 52 sacks, and we're going to get way into this. We're going to get really deep with this deep dive, breaking all this down. But they allowed 52 sacks, almost a 9% sack percentage. In comparison, Buffalo was number one. So you had a 9% sack percentage with the Patriots. Buffalo was at 2.6%. So an extreme gap when protecting that quarterback. Like I said, Josh McDaniels is in there, 10 years in his last stint. I looked at those 10 years. I mean, obviously he had Tom Brady, great weapons, much better offensive line. But every year his teams, his offenses ranked in yards per game on average ninth place, and in points per game, sixth place. That's over a 10-year period. So moving on to defensive coordinator was DeMarcus Covington. Now they bring in Terrell Williams, who was the D-line D-line run game coordinator in Detroit. I mean, you look at what he did in Detroit. I mean, they did very well with all the injuries that they had there, learning under Aaron Glenn. Aaron Glenn's in New York now. The defense was ranked 24th. They were 25th against the run. The only bright spot on this defense was they knew how to tackle. They were the number 2 tackling team in the NFL. They had the 4th fewest yards allowed after the catch at 1,806, that is. But their pass rush was ranked 28th. So got the highs, got the lows. Had the fewest sacks in the league with 28. We will get farther into this and where they've improved with that. And they finished up being 15th versus the run. So moving on. Just a brief little breakdown of their coaching staff. Here's some of their key additions that they've had in the offseason. They start off, you see Harold Landry, top left. Mike Variable brings him back in from Tennessee. Tennessee releases him, get him on a 3-year, $44 million contract. The Patriots had a lot of money to spend. He had 32 sacks in the last 3 years, 9+ in each year, and 52 sacks in 6 years in his career. Pair him with Milton Williams on defensive line. 4-year, $104 million contract. Definitely paid a good bit for him, pretty penny. He was the 7th highest defensive lineman ranked last year, but I mean, how much of that is true? He's more of a pass rusher than a run stopper. And like I said, how much of that is due to him playing in Philadelphia versus him truly being a spectacular player? Guess we'll find out in New England because he does not have the running mates that he had in Philadelphia. Also added, bottom right, Carlton Davis, cornerback who was in Detroit last year on a 1-year contract. He was injured about midway through the season, but the good thing was he was 25th in coverage EPA, -11 coverage EPA, and that's total EPA. So that's not even counting if he would have played the full season. Add that to him being, he's just consistent year in, year out. Get him on a 3-year, $54 million contract. They add Robert Spillane, who's good against the run. Don't ask about the pass, but add linebacker help to that defense. So a lot of defensive pieces added. They did minor additions to that offensive line, adding Morgan Moses on a 3-year deal. And as far as wide receivers, the 2 biggest holes on this team, offensive line, wide receiver. Their only wide receiver change is they added Mac Hollins on a 2-year deal. Didn't even break 400 yards. Did have 5 touchdowns in Buffalo, though. So, I mean, not the best. Not the best additions, but they did go out and spend some money. They did swing and miss on a few players that we'll discuss as well. So going into their future additions, so do a mock draft with every team, kind of saying what I think they need and what they could use going forward. So first off, I have him taking T-Mac, Ted McMillan out of Arizona, came out. There's reports of him running that 4.48-ish 40-yard dash, ended up being a 4.5 or so, 4.53, I believe. 6'5", 212 pounds. I mean, he's a great route runner, big body, gets separation. He would be the number 1 option if you want to go get him at 4. Maybe the only round 1 wide receiver in this draft. I mean, you see what they did last year whenever they drafted Jalen Polk, 37th overall. He finished the season with 12 receptions, 87 yards, and 2 touchdowns. So, could be better. Have them taken in the second round, addressing their other main issue, getting Josh Connerly out of Oregon. He had 28 games at left tackle over the last 2 seasons, quick, and he's good. He's good with his hands, especially on those next level runs. So quick, good addition to this very needy offensive line. 3rd round, another area of need on this offense, taking a running back, Dylan Sampson out of Tennessee. I mean, he's got great speed, good hands, and also, I mean, good in the goal line situations. Running through the rest of this, we have 3 teams to go through, so we're not going to spend a lot of time on this. Shoring up that D-line, getting the edge, another player out of Oregon. Can't go wrong with the hair of Ratledge out of Georgia, helping that offensive line. Got to take a lot of swings at the board, a lot of swings to get that offensive line improved. Tight end, Urasek. Tight end 2 behind Henry, maybe. Maybe a repeat of Brock Bowers, highly unlikely, but got to try what you're going to try. Get some more offensive help. I mean, they did go out in free agency and get defensive players, but adding Jimmy Horn Jr. and finishing up in the 7th round with another running back, Montrell Johnson out of Florida. So let's look at their depth chart as of where they're at as of today. So with this depth chart, you see the orange players. That's all the players that they've added in free agency that I spoke on a lot of so far. David Andrews is gone, the center. So they bring in Bradbury. Is he going to be the starter? Potentially, I suppose. They lose Wise. He was 31 years old. He led the team with 5 sacks on defensive line last year. Fewest snaps since 2019, just over 400. I mean, around 1,000 is a solid season for snaps. They lose Johnson Jones, the cornerback. 62% snap count, decline usage anyways, 32 years old. Jacoby Brissett, and then they trade Gasho to the Saints for a 7th round pick. They were just getting rid of him. So not many subtractions on this team. I mean, they really didn't have much to lose with how bad they were, I suppose. Ted at 4 is tough. Who went before him in this draft? Yeah, no, I mean, if I were the Patriots, let's talk it out like this, talking about the draft. All right, 2 of the top 3 picks is very likely going to be quarterback, Cam and Shador, whether that be Tennessee, Cleveland, New York, whatever order. If they trade, Tennessee trades back, et cetera, et cetera. So 2 of those 3 is gone. So that guarantees you that either Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter is there at 4. So if you're the Patriots, and like I said, offensive line and wide receiver are your 2 biggest holes right now. Do you take one of those? I mean, teams have reportedly not been looking at Travis Hunter as a wide receiver option. I mean, but if he comes to this team, he's wide receiver 1. More have been looking at him for his cornerback ability. But do you pass up Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter to go get Will Campbell, which I don't think is going to go at 4 due to his short arms at this point, or Ted McMillan? In my opinion, I first try to trade back, move back just a few spots, maybe get a 2nd rounder in this year, get more swings at the draft board this year. You can always, I like seeing wide receivers taken in the 2nd and 3rd round, day 2 picks. Offensive lineman, you get the guy out of Mizzou. If you move back a few spots, I mean, Will Campbell may honestly still be there. You move back 7, 8, just depends. But I just did a mock draft with no trades. I mean, obviously you can make anything happen if you traded everything in a mock draft. But do I see any world where they stay at 4? I don't know. I mean, like I said, if those 2 quarterbacks are gone, there's some teams that would definitely love to have Abdul Carter or Travis Hunter. So, I mean, I don't know why they would stay and take it unless there's just no good offers. But I think they are definitely going to look into trading back. Yeah, if they're gone. Yeah, if they're gone, yeah, you definitely trade down. New England were to trade down, would they try to get more capital or try to get number 1 offensive line and number 1 receiver? I think they could do both. I think they could trade down and still get potentially the number 1. Depends on how far they're trading down. If they're trading down to 7 or 8, which would be Carolina, New Orleans, I believe, 7, 8. I believe that's where they're at. So if they trade to those, or anybody, 7 to 10, I mean, those people, they're trading up to get either Carter or Hunter. At 5, you got the Jaguars. who would definitely take Travis Hunter if he's still there. 6, is that the Jets? I have to look at the mock draft again. But anyways, I mean, they could still get Tet for sure. I mean, it depends on who you're saying number one offensive lineman is out of Will Campbell and Mimbu, is that his name? Out of those two for offensive lineman. But I mean, they're still a good option either way. So I definitely would try to trade back for sure. Dream if Hunter and Carter are gone, trade back to 8-12, grab a second. Yeah, that's exactly what I said. Like, I agree. Then Vikings have almost no picks. Trade Vikings second and third and first for a tackle. Yeah, you're really getting into it, into the deep part of the trades for sure for the draft. 8-12, then 24th pick. Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of options for sure. I mean, staying at 4 is not a given for sure. We get ahead of the Chiefs 24 pick, and yeah, they definitely O-line is a area of need for the Chiefs. Okay, so a little tangent there, but that's okay. Love the comments. So let's keep moving. Looking at this kind of general overview of what they have for their offseason outlook. You see their committed salary, $222, it's 11th least. They're kind of in the middle right now. They got that near $18 million dead cap hit that's spread mostly between Juju, Matt Judon, and Andrews. It's the 6th least. 18 million is the 6th least, which is surprising. And even though after all those moves, they still have 82 million in cap space, which is the most in the NFL. So they still have a ton of money. Doesn't mean they necessarily need to go below it, but they still have a ton of money to spend. Looking at some of their quote unquote bad cap hits for this year, Michael Winu, $21 million cap hit. He was ranked around average as far as offensive linemen go, but for him, it was his worst season statistically. Had 31 pressures allowed, which was 71st most against qualifying. So I mean, that's a lot of offensive linemen you're looking at there, but bad by his standards, I should say. We know the offensive line's not great. I mean, you look at an offensive line, and the weakest link is how bad your offensive line is, but the whole chain link is weak pretty much. Kyle Duggar's got a $15 million hit. Barmore's $14 million. Not really worried about him, though. He just played 114 snaps due to the blood clot issue, so not really reading into that. Hunter Henry's $11 million cap hit, but no one else is over $8 million besides the new ones that they signed this offseason, besides Drake May. I'm still wondering if Kendrick Bourne's going to get released. It hadn't been done yet. He has a 7.9 cap hit. But honestly, they hadn't signed anyone besides Mac Hollins to help that wide receiver room, so they pretty much have to keep him. You can read more into this as you go. Sorry. Read more into it as you go, but I'm Mike Vrabel, what's his impact going to be? I have on here draft 13 new offensive linemen. Between offensive lineman and wide receiver, definitely need to draft about 13 more. So back to the depth chart here. There we go. Back to the depth chart. You look at this defensive interior now they also signed Tonga from Arizona. Solid addition. I mean, they had so many areas to improve. Everything's going to basically be wishful thinking right now. It's going to be everything's going to look brighter at the moment. But you have Milton Williams, Harold Landry, Christian Barmore. This looks good looking at that front four just on paper, especially compared to where they were last year. So that looks great. They have a top 10 cornerback duo. You could probably argue that they're even higher than that with Christian Gonzalez and Carlton Davis as their 1-2. So that's another strength. Outside of that, you kind of start to struggle to find strengths. They do have a franchise quarterback and someone to look to going into the future. Every team that's ranked below them, let's look at those teams again. None of those, Saints, Raiders, Giants, Browns, Titans, currently have a franchise quarterback. I guess you can consider Geno, but still got a lot of issues with that team. But anyways, Drake May was number 9 in CPOE. That's completion percentage over expected at plus positive 2%. So all that while having the 5th highest quarterback pressure rate at 38%. Is saying something for him. He showed flashes for sure. Outside of that, it's hard to find something that are any category that they were top third in the league. They have some talent in the back 7. They've improved obviously in free agency. Carlton Davis, They added Chason, which, I mean, I do like that. More I think about that because we did a free agency show talking about the Buffalo Bills and what they needed as far as pass rushers, our defensive linemen in general. But with Chason, he is definitely someone who he's in there for one thing and one thing only. And that one thing is to rush the passer. We talked about him more, so that's a good addition to come in here on passing downs, put him in just on passing downs, let him go for the quarterback. Christian Gonzalez, like I said, I already mentioned him. He's a true shutdown corner. Most teams don't have that. He had 7 pass breakups last year, 11 forced incompletions. He had almost 12 snaps per reception allowed, which is relatively good for sure. Someone of note, Pettis, that's on this team, Dale Pettis. He ranked 18th per PFF, which is, I don't know how much you want to read into that. He only played 340 snaps, but someone to watch on this going into his second year, I believe, in the secondary for the Patriots. And again, I spoke about their yards after catch as another strength. Tackling, once they allowed every player to catch the ball or get into the open field, they were able to tackle them. At plus 1,800 yards after the catch allowed, the worst was 2,400. So 1,600 left. And they also have one of the youngest rosters in the league. Now, weaknesses. Lots of weaknesses. A lot. The offense. I'm just going to run through these numbers because the offense was god-awful. 17 points per game, ranked 30th. 292 yards per game, next to last. 30th in red zone scoring, 48%. They were average at running the ball, surprisingly. 28th in yards per pass attempt at 6.3. Last in pass yards per game at 176. One player on the entire offense ranked in the top 20 at their position. That was Hunter Henry, who led the team as a tight end in receiving yards with 674 yards and 2 touchdowns. And minus 19 receiving yards over expected. Offense is awful. No dominance anywhere. 2 players had 600 receiving yards. 2 of them had 500 plus. 2 of those 4 were tight ends. So not ideal when your tight ends are your leading receivers. The highest ranked wide receiver on this depth chart was Pop at 55th in the league. Best wide receiver was 55th. So again, not the best. Ramondre Stevenson came into the season. He was RB1, got overtaken by Antonio Gibson. That speaks for itself. He only averaged 3.9 yards per carry. Those 2 combined had a minus 65.6 total EPA. So it's negative 65 points, expected points added by the backfield. 28th in EPA per play at minus 0.15. So every play they had minus points expected added, basically. Subtracted. 27th in EPA per rush play, 28th in EPA per pass play. Quarterback was pressured at the highest rate at 41%. And you pair that with the fact that they were the second least play action team at 14.8%. Everything on this offense was god awful. I don't know where a bright spot is outside of Drake May at this point. So, moving on. Defense. They had a lot of issues too. I don't really want to go into that too much because they have done a lot to improve it, or at least tried to make a lot of improvement. But to highlight, they were in the bottom third in almost every category. 29% quarterback pressure rate, which is terrible. They had the worst sack rate at less than 5%. Their 2 leading sack getters on the team were Wise and White, who had 5 sacks each. The next highest was 2.5. Horrible. Horrible. So, as far as the outlook for this team, they still have a ton of cap money to spend. I mean, they still could go do some more. They could definitely make some trades. Might bring those up in a minute. They have a franchise quarterback to build around. My outlook for this team is please do not let Drake May turn into the Texans' David Carr in the early 2000s. They have to get protection for him and do more to turn him to see what he can do. I mean, I think he can be a great quarterback. He definitely showed flashes with that terrible offensive line last year, but they have to go all in. If it means overpaying or overdrafting offensive linemen, they have to protect him. That's the main thing. And I mean, in addition to that, like I said, they have to get more weapons. So let's look at their schedule. Again, they just have the opponents. The schedule's not set yet. This is who they're going to play. We don't know when they're going to play them. So they just have home and away games. So just going based off paper, looking at the rosters, topical level. Buffalo, a loss. Cleveland, they could definitely beat them. Miami, probably a loss. Atlanta, toss up, but as of right now, a loss. Giants, they could win. Jets, they could win. Carolina, they could win. That's a toss up for me for sure. Pittsburgh, if they don't get a quarterback, they could win. Las Vegas, they could beat them for sure. Now, when you get to their away schedule, it gets a little rougher. Cincinnati, there's no way they're putting up 50 points with Cincinnati. Buffalo, again, self-explanatory. Tampa Bay's offense too powerful. Miami, they could possibly split it. The Jets, probably a split. New Orleans, terrible, could beat them. Baltimore, probably not. Tennessee, potentially. So you're looking at about a potentially 6, 7, 8 win season. We could dive into that more if we want to, but let's keep going. So moving on. Let's see. All right. Top players on this team we've discussed, but just to give you a recap in case you missed some of it. Drake May, Milton Williams, Carlton Davis, Christian Gonzalez. 3 of the 4 being on defense. They got to improve the offense. Drake May is the only thing on the offensive side of the ball. So with each team, I do most players that could be the most valuable player or the most improved player. As far as most valuable, Christian Gonzalez, Defensive Player of the Year. I mean, he's currently plus 5,000. I mean, crazier things have happened. I mean, if the games can stay relatively close, he has a shot. Most improved, Jelani Tavai. He had more snaps, but didn't do much more as a defender. So, I mean, I think he could improve. Outside of that, everyone's horrible. They had a horrible year, so it's hard to be worse, but they could definitely improve for sure. Drop-off candidates. Sorry, misspoke. A lot of players can improve. No one can really drop off because you got to be good to drop off. X factors for this team. Obviously, it's the quarterback. I mean, but every team's X factor is the quarterback. Can they draft either Tet or Will Campbell or the offensive lineman out of Missouri, and one of those 3 come in and be dominant at their position? That's what could change this season. I mean, they could easily account for at least a win or 2 and get them up to 7, 8, 9 wins for the season. So again, we're back in summary mode again. Best outcome, let's look at the best and worst possibilities for his team. Best outcome, Drake May takes that next step. He becomes a top 15 quarterback in the league. You get a lot more protection. You hit all your draft picks as far as offensive line goes. Get out of the bottom third of the league. Get him at least one weapon in this draft. They trade for someone. There's still wide receivers that are available potentially for a trade. One that I'm curious to see is George Pickens, maybe. They bring in DK Metcalf in Pittsburgh. I don't see that duo staying together. That may not be till, I don't know, a fourth of the season's over. But could they go get George Pickens? Garrett Wilson, potentially? I mean, outside of that, the pickings are slim as far as getting a new wide receiver. They missed on Chris Godwin and missed on everything basically on the offensive side of the ball. But I mean, I expect this team, best case scenario, finish 7-10, 8-9. It looks promising for the future. Not a high variance as far as ceiling here goes, but versus the other teams, but maybe a higher floor than the other teams that are ranked below them. Worst case scenario, the above issues aren't addressed. May can't take that next step because he's not being protected. He's the same thing as this year. You know, he struggles. Josh McDaniels' time has passed. Vrabel doesn't have Derrick Henry to run the ball. Defense is still not good enough to overcome the issues that they've had in the past. They finished the season with no real improvement from year 1 and go 5-12 again. But what I truly expect of this team is that even though they're a few steps away from competing, they did draft the franchise quarterback in Drake May. The 2025 season is more for playing to not be last in the AFC East. You have Buffalo in the AFC East. You're not competing with them. You're basically trying to outdo what the Jets do. They're on 2 different timelines with the top of the AFC East with Buffalo. So, I mean, if they can finish better than the Jets and then potentially compete with the Dolphins, then that's a very successful start to the Vrabel era in New England. They have so many holes, especially still on this offense, that it's hard to ask them to do anything spectacular for the season. I mean, they're not going to make the type of turnaround that, let's say, the Commanders made in this past season with Jaden Daniels. So you got the improvement on the defense, and you just got to improve the offensive line and try to get a weapon and see what you can get. So with that said, give me a 2-second break, and we will get into team number 26. All right, so team number 26, not much better for sure, but it is the Carolina Panthers. The Panthers, they have done what they could to improve this team. The defense is suspect, to say the least. Let's see. One more second, and we will go right into the. All right, sorry about that. All right, so for the Panthers, last season, 5-12, started 1-7, finished 4-5. Dave Canales is still there. They were ranked the worst team by PFF standards. You could argue differently, especially based on the second half of the season. But still, struggling team, to say the least. Bryce came around in the second half of the season. You know, it's good for Dave Canales that he kept that team together, especially after that 1-7 start and the prior season being just as bad. But if you look at what Bryce Young did, and we'll get more into this, but just giving you a quick starter for what they did with him. Week 1 and 2, he was around 58% passing, 245 total yards in 2 weeks, 0 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, minus 17% CPOE, negative 40.1 total EPA. Flip that. You go from that, so that's weeks 1 and 2. He restarts back as a starter on week 8 through the end of the season. He goes from around a 57% completion to a 62%, 120 pass yards per game to 210, 15 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. Goes from a negative 17% CPOE to a positive 17% CPOE, and goes from a minus 40 EPA in 2 games to a minus 6 EPA in those last games. So quite the improvement. Same offensive coordinator, second year there. Passing offense 17th, run is 13th. But hello to Chuba Hubbard and that late season surge for sure. Top half in run and pass block. You know, last year they definitely committed themselves to making sure that Bryce is going to be protected. The opposite of what the New England Patriots did. They kind of overspent in the offseason last year, shoring up that offensive line, but it was worth it to see what you could get out of Bryce Young. Defense coordinator still Evero, dead last overall. The run D was dead last. 180 rush yards per game allowed. 180. The next worst was 141. I mean, this is just god-awful play from a defense overall. 83 explosive runs allowed. Lowest stuff percentage in the league at 10.3%. The pass rush was dead last. They had the third fewest sacks, lowest quarterback pressure percentage at 25%. Terrible. You pair that with the fact that they were 28th in coverage and had the second worst EPA per pass at positive 0.10. So that means every pass play, so every 10 pass plays, they're giving up a point, basically expected added. It's terrible. Just absolutely awful. So let's look at their free agents, their additions. They had a few. They kind of overspent for some of these players, but you got to do what you got to do. Trevon Merrick out of Las Vegas last year. 3-year, $51 million contract. Best season yet. Had 2 interceptions, 13 tackles with 104. They had Treshaun Wharton from Kansas City on a 3-year, $45 million contract. Bobby Brown III, 3-year, $21 million. Solid player, nothing spectacular, but anything compared to last year is an improvement. They also add in Rico Dowdle, which is sneakily one of the best signings, in my opinion, as far as behind-the-scenes players. I mean, I don't know how he went this long and how Dallas let him get away. But they did, and here we are. He had the 4th highest percentage of runs getting 3+ yards after contact in the NFL. So you pair him with Chuba Hubbard, look out. They re-signed Andy Dalton, which I'm very good with. He can come in. He has a much higher ceiling than a lot of backup quarterbacks in the NFL. Just a 2-year, $8 million deal. I mean, great numbers. Great numbers for the Panthers. And then they extend J.C. Horn, who at the time has already been exceeded with Derek Stingley's contract, but they extended him on a 4-year, $100 million contract, which was the highest ever. He had some highs and some lows, but in my opinion, he is the best player on this team. You got the money, you might as well keep him on there. Don't let him walk. Looking at their mock draft, pushing on through. We got 3 teams this week, so we're not diving as deep as we will whenever we get to the higher ranked teams and do 1 team per episode. Add a lot on defense, but still, I don't think it precludes them from continuing to add in the draft. So with that 8th overall pick, we discussed them possibly trading up. Are they a trade candidate with the Patriots to move up to 4 to get Abdul Carter? Sure. I mean, it's possible. But in this one, I have them taking Pierce out of Tennessee. He's tied for the most sacks in 2023 in the SEC. Very quick. He can close. He can work back inside whenever it's necessary, but I mean, solid addition to this defense that has issues. At a cornerback, I mean, we know they need help on the defense. They added a lot, but they could add more for sure. He's a wide receiver turned cornerback, so he has ball skills. He's long. He's very, like I said, very lengthy. He's a 1-year starter, so the potential is there. You're betting on the upside for him for sure. Continuing on, Chris Paul Jr., I've talked about linebackers already. He's very athletic and intelligent, and to me, that translates well when you're going from college to NFL, because the college game, as far as linebacker play goes, is totally different than what you see in the NFL, because you have totally different setup on the field. They have a lot of different looks for sure. The hash marks are a lot wider. Players line up at near the boundaries as far as wide receivers go. So if you can have someone who is athletic and intelligent, you can basically count on them more being a good transition as far as linebacker play goes, in my opinion, from college to NFL. Torrey Horton from Colorado State, sure hands, not the fastest, but can be reliable. Reliable target for Bryce Young. Another cornerback in Dotson, adequate build. He's suited for most teams that play man press coverage. Mills, defensive interior, again, just adding to that defense. Get a tackle, more depth on that offensive line. That's probably their strength of this team, biggest strength maybe. Add another wide receiver, Washington State. You look at the Washington State history. Cooper Kupp comes to mind. See what you can do out of that. Add another running back, 7th round, USC. Never go wrong with a 7th round running back. Yes, Derek Brown. He is coming up shortly. Definitely a key topic for the Panthers' resurgence for 2025. So let's go back to their depth chart right now. Or let's look at their depth chart, sorry. As you can see, hardly any yellow, orange, whatever color you want to call that, on the offensive side of the ball. Rico Dowdle, that is it. Got to improve this offense for sure. But you look at that defense, they also add Roseboom from the Rams, was solid after they traded away Ernest Jones early in the season. But outside of that, they get a 1-year deal with their center, Brady Christensen. Tommy Tremble is coming back on a 2-year deal. He was possible subtraction. But they lose Ian Thomas, Raheem Blackshear. I mean, these subtractions are not really anything to write home about. Xavier Woods, not the best season. No point in paying him at his age. The only good thing about him is he's going to play every snap. Definitely dependable on the defensive side of the ball. But Jordan Fuller, they let him walk. Miles Sanders gets released. Shaq Thompson's gone. End of an era with Shaq Thompson. Let's look at their cap situation. So again, like this was with the New England Patriots, you have a little bit of an overview. This is something I post on social media, but we're going to discuss it farther here. Have the 7th most committed salary, $254 million. They have just $14 million cap space, which is not ideal for a team that is in the bottom third of the league. Any metric you really look at, I mean, power rankings, last year's record, whatever you want to look at. So not much cap space left. Like I had 7th least as of today. They have $10 million in dead cap. But as far as what they have committed, a lot of it's on that offensive line. They have a $31 million hit, a $21 million hit. They're bringing back their starting 5, to keep Bryce upright, which, I mean, you can't really knock it for sure. Derek Brown, $18 million hit. I mean, worth it. And another offensive line, Damian Lewis, $15 million. But that $11 million dead cap, which is the 7th least, mostly due to Shaq Thompson and Miles Sanders. Jonathan Mingo's in there too. I mean, Cowboys gave up such a high pick for him to do nothing. Dane Jackson as well, but nothing really with that dead cap. So all right. So the strengths on this team. Again, now that we're getting out of the doldrums of the NFL, having a franchise quarterback, or what seems to be a franchise quarterback, is a strength. Teams that don't have one are wishing and praying they could probably have Bryce Young to try to build around. I spoke about Bryce and his resurgence in that second half, those last 10, 11 games that he played. He was 22nd overall as far as quarterback ratings go, and that was after that terrible start. And then you look at year 1 as a whole and year 2 as a whole. Year 1, he had 11 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. That ratio changed from 11 and 10 to 15 and 9. So improvement for sure. Yards per pass attempt are up almost a whole yard per attempt. His quarterback rating is up 9 points. His CPOE is up 3 percentage points. His EPA, this really took me aback. Total EPA was 130 points worse last year versus this year. So 130 points saved by Bryce Young's play versus in year 2 versus year 1. And he took 33 fewer sacks. He was 11th in CPOE for the season, positive. And that's while being 12th in quarterback pressure rate at 36%. It's him and Drake May who kind of in the same boat, getting pressured some, Drake May a lot more, but still were able to deliver the ball. Another strength is the fact that they play in the NFC South. This division is not great, so Tampa Bay being your biggest challenge, it's ideal if you're a Panthers fan. Another strength, seventh best run block grade per PFF as a team. The run in general, they were 10th in yards per carry at 4.6. They had the 3rd fewest stuff plays. That's plays that are stopped at the line of scrimmage or behind the line of scrimmage at just 13%. Chuba Hubbard's emergence is a strength for me. I mean, he only had surprisingly 4 yards per carry. To me, watching him play, it seemed like it was much more than that. 12 touchdowns. I mean, this year was definitely stock up for him. Add in Rico Dowdle. I mean, he was at 4.8 yards per carry, almost 1,200 yards. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's a good 1-2 punch. About one of the top 1-2 punches, in my opinion, in the NFL. 4 of the 5 offensive linemen, as far as pass protection, ranked in the top 25 at their positions. I want to say a strength is having weapons, but it's not. They have Adam Thielen, who is doing great, but he's getting old. I mean, last year he had 62 receptions, 600 yards, 5 touchdowns in just 10 games, and a plus 37 receiving EPA, which is solid in 10 games for sure. I'm curious to see what year 2 Jalen Coker is going to do. In the last 4 games, he had 15 receptions, 216 yards, and a touchdown, and a plus 14 receiving EPA. It's a good bit in just 2 games. No strengths on this defense besides the additions that they made. and the fact that Derek Brown is coming back. That's probably the biggest strength on this defense, having their leader back, shore up that defensive interior, being that they were last by 40 yards per game and rush yards allowed per game at 180. Having him back is great. I mean, if you're really picking nits here, that you could say they had more takeaways than other teams. They had 17. Some of those bottom teams had 13, 14, but it's not a strength for sure. Now, the weaknesses. Whew. I tried to say they had weapons, but not so much. They were last in yards after the catch. Please get him some weapons, please. His weapons are not ideal. They had one player who was over 600 yards. Absolutely terrible. I spoke about the New England Patriots having 2 over 600, which was bad. What's worse is having only 1 over 600. Adam Thielen. He had no one to consistently go to for the entirety of the season. They drafted Xavier Legette at the end of the first round last year, and it just did not pan out. He had 49 receptions, under 500 yards, 4 touchdowns. He definitely didn't show first-round talent. I mean, he was best at intermediate routes, but outside of that, nothing great for sure. The defense, they came out and said they wanted to address it like they did the offensive line last year, and they did, to say the least. They definitely spent money. We'll see how it pans out, but getting new faces on that side of the ball will help for sure. But if we're looking back at what they had last year, this is everything that they ranked last in. Points per game, 31.4. Yards per game, 404. Yards per play, 6 per play. Third down percentage allowed, first down percentage on third down, 50% of the time. Yards per carry allowed, 5.2. Rush yards per game, 180. 28th in pass yards per attempt at 7.6. And their leaders had 5.5 sacks each. That was Ashawn Robinson and Jadeveon Clowney. At least they're coming back. They need pass rush. I mean, they could get that maybe from Derek Brown being back. I don't know. They shored up that interior with Bobby Brown and Tershawn Wharton. So that helps the run game for sure. But, I mean, they had one starter. If you're looking at PFF rankings, they had one starter ranked higher than 50th, top 50. So holes all over this defense. As far as the outlook for this team, the defense looks much better. Just recapping what we've already discussed here. They could still add. I mean, they don't have much cap space. I would like for them to try to trade potentially, get the wide receiver one. Go get the likes of maybe Romeo Doubs, George Pickens as well. They're in the same situation, a little bit better than New England. That's why they're ranked ahead of them. But still need that wide receiver one. They will get Derek Brown back healthy, which will definitely help. Evero in year 2, he hasn't been bad anywhere yet in his career, so I don't expect him just to continue to be terrible here. It was more of a lack of talent in year 1. So, see what happens. If they can definitely compete in the NFC South if Bryce continues continues where he left off in season 2. And who's to say they can't be playing for that division? Looking at, wrong thing. Schedule, opponents. Again, we don't know when they play these people. Could be in this order. Absolutely not going to happen, but I guess anything's possible. Home schedule is a little rough for the Carolina Panthers. They have Tampa Bay, probably a loss. Atlanta could split the season series. New Orleans, they should beat. Rams, looking like a top 5 team in the NFC. Seattle, they could beat. Their offensive line is god-awful. Buffalo, no. Miami, probably not. Dallas, Looking at the road schedule, Tampa Bay again, no. Like I said, splitting that with Atlanta. New Orleans, they should win both, but could they split? Yeah, probably. Possibly. Arizona, I give them about a 40% chance to win that one. San Francisco, no. New England, yes. New York Jets, possibly. Green Bay, probably not. Jacksonville, yes. So you're looking at roughly a 6-win season if we had to project now. I don't know if they come out with their over-under, probably not yet with no draft yet, but I would expect it to be around 6.5 for the season, maybe 7.5 at most. Tough schedule, to say the least. Yeah, definitely a key thing for them in 2025 is to stay healthy. They can stay healthy. They could definitely get out of the bottom 4th of the league on defense and go back to being a better team. That's for sure. All right. So, we look at this team, just to recap like we did kind of with the Patriots. Their top players as of now, Derek Brown for sure being back healthy. That's maybe their top. J.C. Horn, he's good, but not great. Bryce Young, Chuba Hubbard, Damian Lewis, Hayes, Taylor Moton. You add those on that offensive line. That offensive line as a whole is their top players. Like I said, with each team, we're going to talk about MVP, most improved players. MVP, I struggled to find one. The best I could find was Bryce Young. I know it's extremely unlikely. I'm just giving you the numbers. He's currently plus 8,000 to win MVP. Anything's possible, but he definitely needs some weapons to make that possible. Most improved, spoke about him earlier. To me, it's Xavier Legette. Again, just to recap his numbers, 49 receptions, 497 yards, 4 touchdowns. He could easily improve on that. I mean, he was only good at intermediate routes, short game, being more physical at the catch point, being able to catch those balls. A lot of room for improvement. Full offseason with Bryce this year, so can he improve a lot? Who said? I mean, he could be their number one. Jalen Coker, possibly. I don't know. Drop-off candidates for this team on the offense. I spoke up on Bryce Young. He could improve. Could pick up where he left off last year. But it's easily just as possible that he reverts back to that early 2024 or season 1 Bryce Young, where he just looks scared in the pocket, too small to play the quarterback position, and struggles going into the season. Another drop-off candidate, Adam Thielen. He's going to be 35 years old. And the only person, place, or thing that is undefeated in the NFL is Father Time. And that's who he's going up against in 2025. X factor for this team, obviously quarterback. We know it's the quarterback for everybody. Outside of him, Derek Brown. We talked about him repeatedly, but I mean, he was a top 5 defensive interior player in 22 and 23. Can he stay healthy for this entire season? If he does, I mean, he probably could revert back to being a top 5, top 10 defensive interior player in the NFL. He will carry this defense a long way, in my opinion, especially since he's a leader on that side of the ball and he's basically the old head on this team for this season. He had the most tackles and stops in 2023, 41 total pressures, 6 deflected passes. He was just everywhere. Near the same in 2022. He was just dominant. So to finish off the Panthers, best case scenario, Bryce Young picks up where he left off. At the end of 2024, he becomes a top 10, 12 quarterback. He gets another weapon on the offensive side of the ball, or Jalen Coker or Xavier Legette takes that next step and becomes the wide receiver 1 for this team. Not out of the realm of possibility. The defense ends up being ranked, let's say, 24th instead of dead last. They move up 8 positions. That will be great for this team going forward, especially in NFC South. And they are actually in the race for the NFC South and could possibly win it. Best case scenario. Worst case scenario, Bryce is back to year 1 version. No weaponry appears on this team. Can't really open up the run game because the pass game is so god-awful. The defense is just still too bad to compete. I mean, I do think they will improve, but I mean, it's possible that they're bad. And then you look at the fact that if that happens, Dave Canales is out. You have to continue to rebuild again and find a new quarterback, a new top 5 pick. Next year's quarterback class is great, or as of right now. Could change. We'll see what happens. Expectation for this team, what's realistic to me, is this team's ceiling is higher than the teams that are below them, especially like the Patriots. I feel like just due to the fact that they're in the NFC South. So they could win the division. Patriots are not winning the division. None of those teams that I mentioned earlier, Tennessee, Cleveland, New York, Las Vegas, Saints, none of those are winning the division. Panthers, there's a path of them winning the NFC South. So that's why their ceiling is higher to me. The floor to me is truthfully probably 6-11. The defense literally cannot be any worse than where they were last year. Bryce is more likely, I'd say 65-35 split on him, more likely being that second half version of what he was last year. They have the same offensive line. I'm assuming they're going to add weapons in the draft. They'd be absolutely ignorant, stupid to not. So the ceiling for this team is win the NFC South at around 9-8. I mean, the winner of the NFC South for the last, 2 seasons has been around that 9-8, 10-7. So it's not out of the realm of possibility. So, see what happens with the Panthers. And we're going to take another quick 15-second break so I can get something to drink. And we will be back with the last team of the night. All right, we are back, and we are doing the last team. The last team of the night is going to be the New York Jets. So, sorry. There we go. We're good to go now. All right, so New York Jets. Last team of the night. They are number 26 in my rankings. And they could be anywhere above, below that. So let's go look and add them in right there. Sorry, here we are, 25. Sorry, 25. I misspoke. I've been one off tonight. So they are actually 25, not 26. Panthers were 26. Jets are 25. So we're almost through the first bottom 1/4 of the league. You look at this team. A lot of drama surrounds them for sure. 5-12 last year, 2-1 at one point. Robert Saleh, Jeff Ulbrich are out. Aaron Glenn is in, the defensive coordinator from the Lions. They're ranked 22nd overall by PFF. But this team is undergoing a lot of change for 2025, to say the least. They bring in Aaron Glenn. I don't really want to look at his resume. I just know that he can lead players. And that's probably what they need in New York. A lot of issues in the past. He had 4 years as a defensive coordinator in Detroit. His numbers do not reflect something good, but he's done a lot with little with all those injuries there. And defense was 5th overall, even though with all those injuries. Whatever. Offensive coordinator last year, Nathaniel Hackett. Now it's Tanner Engstrand. He was the pass game coordinator from Detroit, follows Aaron Glenn to New York. The offense was mediocre at best, 24th in points per game at 19.9. Fewest runs per game. I feel like we saw that a lot. Breece Hall, Braylon Allen just not being utilized in the way that they could, which then led to them having the second fewest rush yards per game on the season. Ulbrich was the defensive coordinator who ended up being the interim head coach. Now it's Steve Wilks. He was the he was defensive coordinator in San Francisco 2 years ago. That team was 8th and 3rd in yards per game and points per game. So, really good. Problem is, he has not lasted more than one season in all 5 stints that he's had at different areas in his career. So, will he make it past season 1 in New York? Stay tuned. The defense, honestly, in New York, they underachieved based on the talent they had. I feel like everyone knows that, though, that they could have done much more. But, how much of that was due to the fact they're playing so many games from behind, just giving up on the season, and it just seemed like constant turmoil and drama in New York. Allowed almost 24 points per game, 314 yards per game. They were bottom 3rd in almost every defensive category. Long ways away from where they were in 2023. So free agents, they added a few. They got a lot of cap issues in New York, though. Andre Cisco, 1 year, $10 million contract. Sure, whatever, nothing that's going to really change much. Brandon Stevens, for some reason. As a Ravens fan, I do not understand the signing at 3 years, $36 million, which is 20th on average value for 2025 amongst cornerbacks. He had the second worst coverage EPA in the NFL last year. So, again, do not understand what Aaron Glenn sees in him. Of note, They added Justin Fields on a 2-year, $40 million contract, which is basically a 1-year, $30 million contract. It's $30 million guaranteed. They have an out after year 1. We are definitely going to discuss Justin Fields a lot for this team. They re-signed Jamie and Sherwood, bring him back with one of the Williams brothers at linebacker, let CJ Mosley go. 3-year, $45 million contract, which is 5th amongst linebackers. He's just solid all-around player on the team that was playing down, and he played well last year for a defense that really did not. So, continuing on with their additions, let's look at their mock draft, or my mock draft, I should say. First round, it's going to be hard for me to see Aaron Glenn not take a defensive player with his defensive background. I'm sure he wants a star. Is Barron out of Texas that player? Does he trade up for Abdul Carter, Travis Hunter somehow? Stay tuned. See who he really likes. But I have them taking him. He's great in press coverage. He's got good hands for sure. And with the second pick, I have them going defense again, defensive interior player Shamar Turner. I don't know if he's going to fall to 42 like he did in this draft, but he's always in the backfield if you've seen him play. What may make him fall is the stress fracture that he had. Could lead him going to round 2, but I don't know. Third round, a lot of Texas in this. Cam Williams, tackle out of Texas. He's great in the run game, which is what they need with Breece Hall, Braylon Allen, Justin Fields. Get another Texas player while we're at it. Tight end Gunnar Helm. Not the fastest, but sure-handed, to say the least. Going on down, get Riley in the 5th round. Riley Leonard out of Notre Dame. Take a flyer on a quarterback basically at that point. Justin Fields is probably not the future there, but could he be? With their 6th pick, another 5th round pick, Nick Nash out of San Jose State. He had over 100 receptions, almost 1,400 yards, and 16 touchdowns last year. So put up stats, finishing that off with another tackle and a safety. Subtractions. Let's go ahead and go to the depth chart. They cut Devontae Adams, saved $30 million, still got a dead cap hit though. And Aaron Rodgers is going to be, I believe, around a $40 million dead cap hit, but he's a post June 1st designation, so it's not really on the books yet, but it will be. DJ Reed's the only other player they really lost. But you can see on here the other additions. Nothing. Tyler Conklin. They don't really have a tight end at this point. Did sign Stone Smart. Can he be great like he was those last few weeks? I say great very loosely. Those last few weeks in Los Angeles with Justin Herbert. All right. Strengths of this team. Having a competent coaching staff is strength number 1. Talent. If you're just looking on paper what this team has, the talent on this defense is absolutely ridiculous. Like just looking at this, Will McDonald, who improved in year 2, Quinnen Williams, top 3 defensive interior player when he's at his peak. Jermaine Johnson has shown flashes, nothing great. Quincy Williams, the brother of Quinnen. Jamie and Sherwood, Sauce Gardner. Those names alone, that's a lot of top tier talent. Quinnen, he had a down year last year, and tackle, stop, QB pressure percentage were all down. But again, how much of that is from giving up on the season? Is Sauce going to have a bounce back year? I don't think he's going to be as bad as he was last year. So he had a negative 33 coverage EPA in his first 2 seasons, and he had a plus 20 last year. So allowed basically 20 points EPA. So quite the down year for sure. Offensive line is a strength for this team. 3 players ranked in the top 10 per PFF. They did allow 40 sacks, but if you're going to allow 40 sacks to an immobile, old Aaron Rodgers, that in itself to me is an accomplishment. There's talent on this offense. Again, a lot of big names that just have to live up to that name. Garrett Wilson, who had another 1,000-yard season, 100 receptions, 7 touchdowns. You look at players who had 100-plus receptions, 1,000-plus yards, and 7-plus touchdowns. There's only 6 players in the NFL last year. Breece Hall, is he the answer in the backfield? He's yet to break 1,000 yards for a season in his career, but I think scheme has been more of the problem. not necessarily him. He had a 35% success rate over his first 3 seasons. So that's relatively low. But on the flip side of that, he's had plus 257 rush yards over expected in those years. So he's not really having a successful run, which is a definition in itself, but he is getting more out of all those plays than what he should be. You add that to the fact that Braylon Allen looks to have some promise, another strength on this team. Weakness, overall, I would say the secondary is probably a weakness. No quarterback of the future, per se. They have Justin Fields. Last year was statistically his best season with just a -3 EPA. He, in comparison, in his first 3 seasons, he had a -147 EPA. Highest CPOE of his career, a 5 touchdown to 1 interception ratio. Held on to the ball in 2024. They have Garrett Wilson. That's a strength, but the weakness to that point is the fact that he's the only catching weapon on this offense. The dead cap hits are a weakness. No real cap left at this point. Outlook for this team. This year is going to be a reset year. I assume that the defense is going to play much more intensely under Aaron Glenn, to say the least, bounce back to where they were in 2022, 2023. Justin Fields is the curious point for me. We'll get into that in a second. He's playing for a year. They're still playing against the Bills. The argument that I had for the New England Patriots finishing better than the Jets are also trying to finish better than the Patriots, and they're trying to compete with Miami. Can they do that? It's possible, but a lot rides on what Justin Fields is going to do. So let's look at their cap situation. I have here in their offseason outlook, they have $25 million more than the Panthers. Still got some cap hits, these dead caps, Lord Jesus. Devontae, Rogers, Tyron Smith. They still have Alan Lazard with a $13 million hit. He was ranked 90th amongst wide receivers. He had just 500 yards. I don't really expect much more out of him this year. That cap hit, though. Whew. You add in Conklin, Mike Williams, DJ Reed, Javon Kinlaw, Hassan Reddick. They have so many dead cap hits from this team. Moving on to their schedule. Opponents, I should say, not schedule. Home games. Buffalo, probably lost. Miami could split the season series. New England, they should win that at worst split. Pittsburgh, as of right now, they could win it if they don't get a quarterback, because right now, who is it? Mason Rudolph. Cleveland should win that one. Denver is on the rise. Dallas, yeah. Atlanta could win it. Carolina could win it. Away games, Buffalo not winning either one of those games, or shouldn't. Miami, like I said, split. New England, split at worst. Baltimore, probably not. Cincinnati, probably not. Jacksonville could win that game. Tampa Bay, New Orleans should win it. So you're looking at a relatively season. Again, same record as the previous 2 teams. Maybe a little bit better. 7-10. 6-11 at worst. 8-9. We'll see. Top players, just a recap on this team. Oop, that's not them. Top players on this team, the interior offensive line with Tippmann, Elijah Vera Tucker, and John Simpson. They're all still there. The interior looks good. And then they have who was a rookie last year, who they took with their first pick in the first round at left tackle. Garrett Wilson, Breece Hall, the Williams brothers, Sauce Gardner, Jamie Sherwood. A lot of top players. They just got to put the talent together, but they don't have a quarterback. Is quarterback going to be a problem compared to the teams below them in Carolina and New England? Most valuable player on this team possibilities, or defensive player of the year, I should say. Sauce is currently at plus 7,500. Quinnen Williams at plus 12,000. Could they have a bounce back year? Absolutely. They could definitely bounce back from where they were last year. Most improved, probably the same 2 players, because if they're going to be defensive player of the year candidates, they're also most improved player for sure. Going in, there's no drop-off candidates for me. To me, this is the focal point of the New York Jets, and that is the X factor for this team. I try to stay away from the quarterback being the X factor, because every team's quarterback is the X factor for them. But for the Jets for this year, possibly going forward, Justin Fields and Tanner Engstrand. What can they do? It's kind of surprising to me that they signed Justin Fields to such a hefty 1-year contract, but there is an argument for that as well. But the crazy thing about it is that the pass game coordinator, Engstrand, came from Detroit. How many times did you see Jared Goff run the ball, pretend he gonna run the ball? Never happened. But now they have just Justin Fields, who is more than likely going to be running the ball as much as he's passing it, I would say. Totally different scheme for them to bring into the fold for this team. It's going to be interesting for sure. How are they going to mold this offense to make it work when he, like I said, how Engstrand ran that Jared Goff offense in Detroit? It's a good thing in the sense of, he's going to get $30 million this year. That's good for him. But they can get him on a 2-year contract. He's coming in. If he can show that he was as good as he was in Pittsburgh last year, it kind of kicks the can down the road and they don't feel forced to get a new quarterback this year and potentially maybe get one next year. Just depends on what Justin Fields does. I'm glad that the Jets are cognizant enough to realize, are self-aware and cognizant of the fact that this year is a reset year. Could they compete and possibly get a wild card? Potentially. But they are going into this realizing that this is a reset year. There is no indication that they have come out and said or shown anything that they're going to be trying to get one of the top 2-3 quarterbacks in this draft. No Cam Ward, no Shador, no Jackson Dart, which is great. They have so many issues that they have to resolve in general. But if they could strike gold with Justin Fields and someone who is smart on the offensive side of the ball with Tanner Engstrand and a run game that looks like it could be good with a good offensive line, it's going to be interesting to see how that plays out. Maybe one of the top storylines so far of what I think of going into 2025 is what Justin Fields can do for the Jets and New York. So, best and worst outcomes for this team. Best outcome, being realistic, is Justin Fields comes in and is a top 20 quarterback. Just made my case for him being that with this likely run-first offense. We'll see what happens. The defense is back to playing top 10 or better. I mean, they were top 5, top 3 at one point. That puts them, best case scenario in the chase for the wild card, like the Bills who had Tyrod Taylor just a few years ago. Could that happen? Potentially. The worst case scenario, this is just a reset year like I spoke on a few seconds ago. The defense continues to fall off. They were truly in a decline. They were just not playing down last year. And they look toward 2026 when they have less dead cap and look to reset for the future. I don't think there's anything that Aaron Glenn can do this year that would get him fired outside of going winless. I mean, 2-14, maybe, but I just don't foresee that. If he is that bad, then you kind of know that the roster was bad anyways because they weren't great last year. But my true expectations for his team, like I said, I expect them to truly heavily lean on the run game, control the clock, manage the ball with Justin Fields, limit turnovers. They could keep themselves in games, 1-possession games for sure with that method of play. You add that to the fact that they could get a 2-back vibe going in New York, 1-2 punch with Breece Hall and Braylon Allen. One's more maneuverable, and one is more of a hard hitter in Braylon Allen. They finished the season around 7-10, building toward the future. That would be promising if they finish the season 7-10 to me. Could they make the playoffs? Yeah, I think there's a possibility because we've seen 1-year turnarounds happen before. It's just, I think the ceiling's a little lower being that Justin Fields is in there. They could easily get to 9-8 or 10-7 and sneak in if the D can become top 5 like they were in years past, which is possible with Aaron Glenn at the helm. Anything's possible with New York. So with that said, I think that pretty much wraps up this week's episode. And we are now, let's go back to the recap of teams. Let's see where we've made it thus far. We are currently at team 25. So we're going to do going forward about 2 teams a week until we get to around 16, I believe. So a few more weeks, and we also have the draft coming up. We'll hit the draft hard. We're going to go real deep with that whenever that gets a little closer. But like I said, we'll go two teams per week, and then we will get really deep dives on those top 15, 16 teams as far as my power rankings go. And I will update these as things happen, especially after the draft comes. But as of right now, we have 32 Tennessee, 31 Cleveland, 30 New York, 29 Las Vegas, 28 New Orleans, 27 New England, 26 Carolina, and 25 the New York Jets. The only one I think you could argue right now is 29 with the Raiders, maybe moving them up. But outside of that, I feel like a lot of 25 and 26 are pretty solid, and everything else is kind of interchangeable, 27 to 32. But that's all for tonight, and we will be back next Thursday and every Thursday at 9:30 Eastern, 8:30 Central. You can find me on X, Instagram, TikTok, King NFL Stats. Like and subscribe to the YouTube channel, Do Champions. You can follow them on at Do Champions on any social media. And until then, catch you next week.